want to state the obvious. I want to appreciate and thank our Caucasian brothers for coming down here today and standing with us. I'm not colorblind, though some will force us to be gender blind. At this time, we want to take questions from the press. And we ask that the pastors will come in, and we want to field questions from the press as it relates to HB2, this common sense legislation that's been put forth.
I don't know who should step to the mic, but you know the NAACP is going to respond to this. William Barber is going to put out a press release to say you are clergy members who have gone rogue, have a disillusioned idea of discrimination. And what is your response to that argument?
Our response to Reverend William Barber, as you mentioned him, or the NAACP, the African American community is not a monolithic community.
No, sir. No.
We're like all other communities in America who have the right to have differing positions and opinions. We're not rogue pastors. We're men who are not ashamed to admit that we agree with God and we agree with common sense. And the truth is, the undeniable naked truth is, there are only two sexes. And that gender cannot be changed. Reverend Barber will tell you that I nor any of these pastors speak for him. We say also he doesn't speak for us. So that's our position.
What's your message to African Americans who are also members of the transgender or LGBT community as a whole, who face race-based discrimination but are also having to grapple with this bathroom issue?
Our message to African Americans, this is not a color-coded message. Whether you're African American, Asian American, white, Latino, that transgenderism, the notion that one can change their gender, it's a fallacy. What we're asked to do is to participate in a charade. The naked truth is, as we mentioned before, that a transgendered man is a woman, and a transgendered woman is a man. And what we would say is, on top of the racial discrimination that a person faces, that an individual should not, through their own actions, bring more resistance to their lives by simply trying to be who and what they are not. Sir?
Dear sister, I have a question to ask of you. What does race have to do with it?
Being the platform of this is...
Race has nothing to do with it. This is all about sexual preference. There's a choice. Biology 101 tells me that I am a male. It tells females that they are females. So when we try to lump this thing together and make it be a racial issue, I totally agree with that because it has nothing to do with civil rights. I did not sit at that lunch counter about sexual orientation. I sat there that we would put Jim Crow on trial, and thankfully he was found guilty. That we could be treated as human beings.
Who made it race was the president and the attorney general. They say that this is the new Jim Crow. We're simply saying it's not.
And also to address your question in another way, I can assure you that these men of God who stand next to me have the greatest respect, concern, and compassion from those ones who are struggling with transgenderism, sexual identity. What we would contend is that there is another answer to their struggle and to their challenge, and giving equal access to any bathroom that you so choose in any given day is not the answer.
Again, we didn't make it about race. The president and the attorney general and the NAACP, these organizations have made it about race. Yes, ma'am.
There's been some talk of a compromise. I know last night the Charlotte City Council voted that down. But there has been some talk of a compromise? Can someone speak to your opinion on that?
Well, I don't know what the talk of a compromise is, but from what we hear on the other side, it's a zero-sum game. They want either all or nothing at all. Transgender people did not start using the restrooms 30 or 40 or 90 days ago. The nation has functioned properly, and there were no issues until the Charlotte City Council started this fight. Our position is, we're saying to the governor, to the lieutenant governor, to the legislators, stand your ground. Those who are pulling out, the artists who have chosen not to do a concert, they say it's because of the bathroom issue. And by the way, press, it would be nice that every time you tell the story of an artist who decides not to come, how about balancing that with the many artists who come, or the businesses that do stay here? Because our state is a great state. We remained in the top 5 or the top 3 in the nation to do business. It's a great state for people of color. So I don't know if there's a compromise. I will say to the legislators and to the governors, the people are behind you on this issue. Those who oppose HB2, Governor McCrory, will never vote for you no matter what. Those who are in favor of HB2, we're with you. And with the legislators and with the lieutenant governor, we're with you. Stand your ground.
Add more color to Bishop, because he's exactly right. I was in Charlotte for 2 years when the ordinance began, and was at the beginning of the fight. And if you would remember, the first time it got voted down, the whole Charlotte City ordinance had everything to do with some city council members who were ready to go along with it, except they would not put all provisions in it. So when we talk about compromise, understand that the opposing side, by which we love, and let's let that be echoed. I love what Brother Threep said. We love the LGBT community, and nothing has changed about our love for them. We love them. We love them. We love everyone. But the compromise cannot be, if you will, that we have to bow down to the safety of our women and children. Do you realize that if this passes, and I can say this with such soft tone, but if this passes, every woman that's holding a camera, a pen and a pad, I know many of you enjoy working out in the morning. Well, the bottom line is you will have to make a different decision or take showers and risk coming out of the shower and seeing some man who shouldn't be there. So if we just go with fundamental law of anatomy and moral law, the compromise can't be what has been proposed. But to answer your question further, understand that the opposing side doesn't want compromise. That's not what they're looking for. They don't want compromise. They want the acceptance. They want us to agree. When we did the city meeting, which was a mockery, City of Charlotte held a community meeting. I brought 80 of my members to the meeting, and you talked about civil rights. Of course, most of my church is African American. Guess where we were asked to stand? Outside. Outside. Now that's discrimination. The people came, Pastor Roger, we're so glad to have you. Can you have your people stand outside? I said, brother, is anybody else standing outside? We were asked down, and when we got split up into the groups, which again was a joke, we sat in those community groups, and those members from the LGBT community wanted to consistently tell us that we were afraid. Well, please understand, you know, most of us in this line, in no ways are we afraid. We're not homophobes, amen. We are theophobes. We fear God, amen, and we agree with morality. Right? So when you talk about compromise, I think you got to understand that the whole idea of us being here on a Tuesday when we should be discipling our people is because the nation is compromised. The nation's compromised. So that's my position. Brother, you might have more to add.
When we talk about compromise, it's not about that. When we integrated Lunch County and Woolworths, that was not about compromise. That was about doing what is right. Now, I want to tell you what compromise is. Leaving Greensboro, North Carolina, getting on the bus and going to Wildwood, New Jersey, and having to stand up all the way going there.
All right.
Not because there were not any seats, there just happened not to be any seats in the back. I'll tell you what compromise is. I never went to an integrated school. I was raised, part of the time I was raised up, I was in a neighborhood that was we were surrounded with white families. But I was bused past the white school to go to the black school. That was compromise. Compromise has cost America. The compromising of electing President Obama has cost America. Because he has caused a greater divide than I have seen since the 1960s.
Just for the LGBT community, you talked a lot about this is not like the civil rights movement because you can't change the color of your skin. You are who you are. But what about two people who are in the LGBT community and they say they are who they are? They cannot change the fact that they feel that they are transgender or that they are gay, that they can't change that. What do you say to them when they say, okay, this isn't the same level as the civil rights movement and we're not going through what you had to go through in history, but to us, this is a civil rights movement. Do you empathize with their view or are they still wrong?
Yeah, they're wrong. The word is that Bruce Jenner is considering going back to being a man in a couple of years, so he has that option. For a man to say, with a male's body, born male, his DNA says male, chromosomes male, everything is male, even after he puts on a skirt and hair extensions and pumps. Everything about him, his vitals, everything, his DNA says male, he's a male. Now, just because he imagines that he's a female, or his argument is that the Creator who made everything got it wrong, who are we to believe? Established thinking, common sense. You know, I'm a granddad and I have another grandbaby on the way, and you know the main thing we want to know right now is what is it going to be? A boy or a girl? So this is common sense legislation. I perhaps told some of Ms. Martell.
Let me just say this for those who have a feeling and can't understand why they feel the way they feel. Well, they're also in the Word of God. They're called eunuchs. Eunuchs were not to marry. Eunuchs were to remain who they are until Jesus cracked the sky. And maybe they need to understand who they really are. So I think it's an identity crisis. People just don't know who they are. And they won't know who they are until they meet their Creator. So that's why they get saved. But here's the bigger scope of things. The bigger scope is God said in the last days there'll be great delusion. Matter of fact, many will be deceived in the last days. Everyone out here, even a sinner, know that we're close to our last day than we've ever been. And great deception is hitting even the church. The very elect will be deceived. So it's a lot of spiritual things taking place that has to come to pass before he cracks the sky. So some things we can't pray against because it's the will of God. In the last days, evil will reach its peak. So we're seeing that right before our very eyes. Our goal is to see many get saved as much as possible before he cracks the sky. That's the only reason why we're still here right now, because all of us deserve judgment, but it's his mercy that keeps us here. But to your question, eunuch.
Can I add value to that? Pastors, that is such a fabulous question, and it's been asked frequently, and I love it. Pastor is right. This is spiritual warfare, and understand the climate that they were in. Delusions, being deceived, the list goes on. And if we come even to a practical level, if I say I'm a horse, am I a horse? I mean, I've decided, and there's some precedent of this, y'all, of folks who've decided their cats have cut their ear off. Literally, you can find it. Are they a cat? No, you're not that just because that's who you decided to be today. It adds to the discussion of giving man the power to create his own law. In fact, it's called humanism. And anytime we function in humanism and what I say is right, you know, I have a beautiful wife at home, 4 beautiful children. It's not okay for me to decide to go kiss another woman tomorrow. We can take it out of that context. It's not okay for me to decide that I'm not going to bring my money home and support those 4 beautiful children. That is, again, immoral. And that's why we go back to the fundamental discussion that yes, it's spiritual and it is a moral platform that we're standing on today. And I think we got to be careful anytime we allow, even if it's a majority of the population, we allow them to reshape how thought should be. And I think that that's critical. I don't mean to over talk, but I just want to add that.
Let me give you the short answer. I am who I am, but I cannot do what I want to do. If I decide, because I feel like it, I want to walk into ABC Bank today and stick my hand in the cash register and take the money out because that's how I feel, I can't do it. It's the difference between feelings and facts. The facts are, you are who you are. Now, they have to make an adjustment, just like we have to make an adjustment. My rights end where yours begin. I cannot intrude on your sovereign rights. And so when we have bathrooms that are set up for male and female, I have a problem if my wife, or my children, or my grandchildren, or my great-grandchildren, one of my females, and they go into the bathroom in a public facility, and a male goes in behind them, I'm going in there behind them. And I'm not going to promise how we come out.
Thank you, members of the press. Thank you, pastors, for coming, both African American and white. Notice we're here as Americans. We're here as people who love God, men of God who believe in common sense, and men of God who love our state and love our nation. And we believe that there has to be common decency, common laws, and the laws that have protected the public good, such as men's room and women's room, men's locker room, women's locker room, men's changing rooms and women's changing rooms. We're just saying these things should stay in place. Even female members of the press who are here today, they protect you. And I don't think there's a lady standing here who wants to be in the bathroom with a man that you don't know. While you are in the ladies' room with the door closed and being human. Thank you.